Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. In some of my videos, whenever I had a chance, I've been talking about this phenomenon that I encounter, and you encounter it all the time when you read news, when you're provided news by these weasels. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about finding out what actually happened, probably from the same source, but in a different article, a different time. For instance, now we have a war between those guys and these guys because they all do it. So it doesn't matter if I'm talking about the Russians or the Americans or whomever. So they all do it. And they might tell you something, give you an information, but they lie to you, or maybe not lie to you, but they try to form your opinion, shape it by omission. So they omit a certain piece of information, or they maximize something, they minimize something else. And then they say, okay, let's say Bakhmut. This is what's going to be the subject of today's video. Bakhmut, the Russians are in an offensive over there, and they've been for some time, I don't know, about a month and a half or so, or 2 months. And the Ukrainians always, and that's the word always that I never use. I don't like always, never, and all that, but I have to use it because that's the reality. I've never, I don't like those words, but never said about Bakhmut as being an achievement by the Russian army, and excuse me, for good reason. I mean, you don't want to maximize or to tell even the truth. Say, okay, the Russians just advanced 50 kilometers. You don't want to say that. You want to say, well, the Russians are attempting to do this or attempting to do that. But then you find out the reality, or closer to reality, the same guys talking maybe the next day in a different article, talking about Bakhmut, but not the subject of the conversation not being Bakhmut. They talk about something else. And in that context, they're going to mention, yes, by the way, the Russians are making great advances, or are advancing, tremendous advance in Bakhmut. And you find out that actually the little things that they tell you in the articles related to Bakhmut, it just, these were the words. They barely advance a few meters, the Russians. The Russians have colossal losses in Bakhmut. It's no importance for the Russians, that's why they advance just a little bit. Now, we find from another article that actually the Russians been doing, quite the opposite. They were winning in Bakhmut, they were advancing, and now we have these weasels, which are weasels, I gotta tell you. I started with them not thinking they are weasels, but they, through their reporting or analysis, I think they are kind of weasels. And this is the Institute for the Study of War. It's a think tank, whatever, in the United States of America. So this article comes from Kiev Independent, so from the Ukrainian source. And it's from yesterday, December 24th, 2022. And this is what these guys say. So the Institute for Study of War says that Russia's advances in Bakhmut likely slowed in recent days. Oh, I didn't know they were really, they were having an accelerated, how should I put it, output or anything. So by this, I get that the Russians indeed were having a speedy and, advancement, because it's likely slowed. In order to slow, that means you were kind of in a little running. So this article has nothing to do with, the Russians did likely slowed in recent days. That means, again, they provide me information that they don't intend to provide me that information. And I'm reading this little article. Russia's advances near Bakhmut in Donetsk Oblast have likely slowed in recent days. Although it is too early to tell if Russia's efforts to take the city are reaching their end, the Institute for the Study of War said in a latest update. You see, probably the city is already taken, which I got some information that it is, and now I found another article about yesterday or 2 days ago, where they said that actually the street fighting, it's starting in Bakhmut. That means they secured the perimeter, and now inside they're gonna say, you come out or we're gonna take you out. And it's gonna be another Mariupol, if you remember Mariupol, with the Azovstal plant and the Azov regiment, and about 2,500 people got trapped over there. I think they trapped themselves over there, thinking that they could be airlifted or some, I don't know, on a boat or something, and it didn't happen. So again, we got information here that they say, again, these guys say, oh, might have done the take the city. I think the city already was taken, but these guys are, keeping it there. They don't want to tell you the achievements. And these guys, as I said, is a think tank, whatever. According to the DC-based think tank, Russian military bloggers reported that Ukrainian forces in the area have succeeded in slowing down from what? From running fast, right? Slowing down Russian advances, with one saying that Ukraine had pushed back units of the Kremlin-controlled paramilitary organization Wagner group to previous positions. Oh, so they were doing good. They were anyway. The ISW wrote that it has, and I'm quoting, assessed that Russian forces made slightly fewer overall advances in the Bakhmut area in November and December combined as compared to the month of October. Okay, so that means in October they did well, and now they tell us November and December they're just... I didn't hear about Bakhmut in October, to be honest with you. Maybe it was just my eyes and lack of attention, which I doubted because I read these guys daily, a few times a day. These guys being Ukrainska Pravda. I got at least three sources that I regularly check. That means a few times a day, which is Ukrainska Pravda, Ukrinform, and the New Voice of Ukraine. So those are really, really, you know what I mean? Like Sputnik on the other side, really, hardcore news. I don't want to say it, but it sounds with a P and not that PP, but propaganda news, whatever. So we find out that actually these guys had an offensive, great offensive in October. Oh, I didn't even know that. Now I find out because these stars tell me. Okay, and I believe them. All right, probably the whole thing is 3 times more than they tell me, as I got to understand through direct experience in this, the information knowledge that I had before and direct experience with other stuff. I knew that, you maximize or you minimize, certain kind of information according to how it fits your needs and your interests. It was logical. But this was a direct example, analyzing daily, to realize that actually, when you find information after the fact, let's say the Russians say, hey, the Russian army killed 10 people. You must be sure, or 10 Ukrainians. You have to, make, maybe 3 out of 10, but they say 10. They maximize it, they inflate it, the same. 10 Russians died in this operation. Again, the Russians, let's say, report 10 Russians only died. Well, you should expect that it was at least 30 that died. So minimize losses, maximize successes. So the same with these guys. When they tell me that this is this, the same. Maximize, minimize according to who's saying what. Now it says that Zelensky said on December 20th that Bakhmut in Donetsk Oblast remains the hottest point out of the entire 1,300 kilometer front line. Seizing Bakhmut could allow Russian forces to launch attacks on urban areas such as Kramatorsk and Slovyansk in Donetsk Oblast. Other articles said, why do Russians bother to focus on Bakhmut? Because there's no strategic and no advantage at all. I made like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, this kind of statement. And right now this guy says, which I covered that as well. Oh my God, this is the hottest. And if they do that, we lose everything. Now, which one is it? See, these guys don't... I don't want to say they forgot what they said yesterday, because these guys are, on the same boat. But it's just, that's the way you do it. It's normal here. The Wagner Group, which has been conducting a large portion of Russian operations around Bakhmut, uses many poorly trained convicts it recruited to fight against Ukraine in an attempt to take the city, the UK Defense Minister previously reported. And they're winning with these losers. What does that tell you about you then? So if Russia, or these losers, Wagner Group, wins, however slow they might do it with a lot of losses, if they win and they're such losers, what does it tell you about you guys? You're even more losers because you're also defending. which is even greater, better advantage than attacking, isn't it? It's like you go and fight and you lose against a guy, and then you start bashing the guy that you lost. Oh, he was a loser. Oh, he's weak. But you just lost. That means you're weaker than that person. So shut up, and on the contrary, say, oh, I lost from a great fighter. I don't know, fucking loser. But anyway, that's how you do it. And we do it. The same here. If this Wagner group is so bad, how in the hell they're winning? How little they're winning, but they're winning. That's my point. But it's just funny. Who's writing these articles? I don't know, toddler or something. Anyway, a lot of articles I don't even think they're written by Ukrainian, if you know what I mean. A lot of them I think they have PR resources from outside. Why? Because sometimes I look at the terms that they use, and those terms are not really Ukrainian terms, or it's really an American or an English speaking, let's put an American, I won't say American or British, but an English speaking person that has that as the first language. Like for instance, I made this point a few, months ago. Someone said about dozens. They sent dozens of Now if this was written by a Ukrainian, talking about the front, what happened over there, that she or he, in that case I think it was a woman, she wouldn't refer to the number of people in dozens. We don't have it by 12, okay, dozens or half dozens, 6. No, we have it by tens. When we meaning Romanians, Ukrainians, and all those guys, we don't go by dozen. For me, when I first came to the United States and I heard dozen, what the hell dozen? Why do you go by 12, 24, 36? What is that? We go by 10, 20, 30, 40. So when I saw that many times, I realized that whoever wrote that, it was not probably a English speaking, it was an English speaking person. Now you can say, well, maybe that was, they were trying to, the article was meant for the English audience, so they understand it better. Well, it is or is not, could be, but on the other hand, if I refer to some, well, what's the distance you covered? I will go 10 meters. Or I go, because I know Americans don't general know meters, I will go to yards. And yards is only like what, 0.9 or something, 0.9 something of a meter. So I'm going like, I went 10 meters, I would change it, okay, I went 11 yards, round it up. And then I multiply by 3 to give it in feet, which for me is like, what the fuck? Anyway, so multiply by 30, 35, I say 30, 35, 33 feet, approximation. But my first thing is, I'm not going to do dozens. Oh, dozens of meters. Or 1 dozen or half a dozen. No, I'm going to give you 5 meters. I'm going to get 10 meters. I'm going to get 20 meters, 100 meters. I'm not going to say 120 meters, like 10 dozens. And so, but you can say, well, that's all you. No, that's what I learned living with those guys over there. And with people here that are foreigners, they speak in tens, like the Romans, 10, 10, 10, decimal, no, deci, that's 10. I don't speak in this. But anyway, that was an extra. I'm just a point. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.